Okay, are we good? So, as everybody is here, let's begin by taking refuge and generating the enlightened mind attitude and the four immeasurables. Until I have reached full awakening, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By means of beneficial actions such as generosity, may I attain enlightenment in order to benefit beings. Until I have reached full awakening, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By means of beneficial actions such as generosity, may I attain enlightenment in order to benefit beings. Until I have reached full awakening, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By means of beneficial actions such as generosity, may I attain enlightenment in order to benefit beings. May all beings find happiness and the cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they not be separated from the perfect happiness that is free from suffering. May they abide in great equanimity, free from attachment and aversion to those near and far. May all beings find happiness and the cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they not be separated from the perfect happiness that is free from suffering. May they abide in great equanimity, free from attachment and aversion to those near and far. May all beings find happiness and the cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they not be separated from the perfect happiness that is free from suffering. May they abide in great equanimity, free from attachment and aversion to those near and far. Let's begin by taking a moment, a little buffer, so that whatever we were doing before we came here is gently fading away in the past. Whatever we might have to do in the future, we leave it on hold. And make sure we're here, our body, our speech, our mind, our breath, becoming more and more aware of what is in the moment. Now that we appreciate that we are here, we're in the best position to understand or notice what is. And first we begin with our posture. The way we sit has a direct influence on the state of our mind, therefore it's very important to make sure that we are properly sitting. If we are sitting on a chair or sitting on the floor, we notice the contact with the earth and the support we gain through this. Our hands might be resting flat on the palms down on our thighs, or in the meditation gesture, that is the right hand in the left, both resting in the lap. Our back is straight without unnecessary tension, maybe like the trunk of a large tree, properly rooted. Our shoulders are slightly outstretched. And as we breathe in and out, we come to discover our center of gravity slightly below our navel. Our chin is slightly tucked in, yet the neck remains free. Our teeth are relaxed, so are our lips, maybe in a half smile, and the tongue is lightly touching the palate. Our gaze is directed straight ahead, slightly downward, in a soft and open vision of what is directly in front of us. maybe with eyes half closed, or if we find it more comfortable, our eyes can be also closed. Breath comes and goes, mostly through our nostrils in a very natural way that we don't need to alter. We notice the movement of the breath. If counting the rounds of breath helps, please do so. Thoughts and sense perceptions are very vivid, and they arise and they disappear. They are not enemies that we need to suppress violently, but we don't need to entertain them endlessly either. We simply notice when they arise, their presence, and when they disappear, and that might be very brief. Now and then we might catch ourselves being caught up in a train of thoughts and drifting away. We don't need to scold ourselves for having a bad meditation, but rather we need to disengage and come back to the breath for a while. Once we find the balance and attentiveness, we can just relax. In an open state of mind, also very aware and very clear. That's where we abide. When we lose it, no big deal. We come back to the breath, find the balance, find the peace. It opens to spaciousness and awareness, and then we stay again for the time it lasts. Feel free to move a bit, stretch if you need, stand up a bit. So I want to welcome our friends online, because I noticed that I began by a live stream that was private. That means nobody could join. Took me 5 minutes to realize that something is wrong here. So now it's public. That's okay. We're good. And yeah, I wanted to say a few things about an interesting experience that we may have when we meditate. I'm not saying that we should try to have it, but if it comes, maybe you notice it or you relate to maybe a similar experience you had. Is that things at the same time are sharper phenomena, that means thoughts, sense, perceptions, and so on, sharper, crisper, more present, and at the same time lighter, not as heavy or source of complication. They appear, and we're not trying to suppress them and have a sort of a blank mind. That would be ridiculous, because the definition of mind is literally, if you take the Tibetan word sem, the definition is that which cognizes. So you can't have a blank mind when the mind's own nature is to cognize. So we will always have thoughts. Sometimes they will stop because the causes and conditions, whatever sort of like brought them up to the surface, are not gathered. So there is an absence of thoughts, but you'll notice that. You'll notice the thoughtlessness, you notice the thoughts, and things will be clearer and sharper, the sounds, and here as we meditate outside, all the birds and whatnot that we can hear is even more sharp than usually, because we are totally present to it, very attentive. But at the same time, it doesn't, ideally, become the source for complication, engagement, in the sense of like, I don't care. We just notice it arises and disappears. So for me, it's a reminder that through this observation of, on one side, the presence, on the other side, the lightness of phenomena coming together, is maybe where we can begin to understand a relation between the relative aspect of reality and a deeper or more absolute sense of reality. We use relative and absolute in English to translate either Sanskrit terms or Tibetan terms that actually mean something slightly different. Relative in both the Sanskrit and the Tibetan means that which hides reality. That is, that the senses, the perceptions, the thoughts, and so on, they're so mesmerizing that we're unable to see beyond them. We're unable to see the stuff dreams are made of, the cloth dreams are made of, because we are so much attracted by the story, the narration, and our point of view and our decisions about what to do with this. So it's called relative reality in English, but actually it means that which obscures reality. And the absolute reality, if we go back to the Sanskrit or the Tibetan, it means that which lays behind appearances. The superfactual, if you want. What is the canvas on which the brushes are stroked and the story is told. So when we sit, we can see the relative, that is, all the thoughts and self-perceptions, and we don't waste time trying to suppress them or entertain them. But at the same time, because they become lighter, though they're crisper and more vivid, we sort of see through them. We see that they don't have a substantial, permanent, autonomous reality. And as we look at this more and more, we begin to see that actually for a thought to arise or a sense perception to be perceived, you need so many factors coming together that if one of these factors is missing, the perception doesn't happen. So you realize that progressively that things appear in an interdependent way, in an interdependent production that requires a lot of contributing factors. And then would you take each of these contributing factors and look at them, you realize that each of them need an endless amount of contributing factor. So you're sort of like breaking apart what seemed to be solid and compact, homogeneous, and you begin to see this more like a dance of things coming together, arising, disappearing, reorganizing, and so on. And so you see it's clear, but at the same time you see it's, let's say, like a hologram. It doesn't have any solidity or any weight. So being able to see both at the same time and not excluding or sort of like taking the side of one against the other is a very important step in meditation. Particularly in the phase of insight or deeper investigation, introspection, leading to wisdom. That's the vipassana in Sanskrit. Very important to be able to see both. Because if you promote one and sort of like neglect the other, you are actually exaggerating and minimizing. That's the technical terms that we have in Buddhist philosophy. When you say, oh yeah, I see it now. All these thoughts, they're just like a hologram, they have no reality, equal, they don't exist. That's minimizing. We overplay their lack of substantiality and we turn it into a negation. They're not here. Emptiness equals nothing. That's minimization. If on the other side, you sort of trip on the colors and the sounds and like, oh yeah, this is wonderful, either by grasping at them and struggling with them and being a sort of like anxiety, stress, whatever, we exaggerate. Or if you're meditating and you're really attached to the bliss of quietness, you're like, oh, it's so beautiful. And you don't see through them because your attachment, your desire, your attachment to the pleasantness of the experience create a sort of an opacity that prevents you from seeing through, seeing the deepest reality. So we're constantly either minimizing or exaggerating. When we want things to be, we said they're solid, that's the way they are. Okay? When we have a problem, we just close our eyes and say, la, 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 it doesn't exist, it's not here. And then we're just swinging back and forth between two extremes that are not actually reflecting reality. So if we think too much about it, it's sort of like make our heads spin. Like it is not, to be or not to be. Is that the question? So maybe it's better to take it more from the experiential end and not to think too much about it. Like think a little bit so you understand the idea. But then as you sit, first try to come to the moment of peace, and that's what calm abiding is helping us, working with our breath, our posture, and so on and so forth. Then when we have this shamatha in Sanskrit, this calm abiding, then we let it open in a spacious awareness. And then we let all phenomena dance, and that includes the thinker, the meditator. Because we're a phenomena like all the other phenomena, and we interact and are part of this interdependent production. So we see all of that, and sometimes we zero in the phenomena that arises, and then as our attention is placed on this, we see how it comes through multiple causes and conditions. Each of them come through multiple causes and conditions. Sometimes you zero in the observer, the meditator. Also, it's a bundle. We call this aggregates, many things coming together, psychophysical elements that come together to have a sense of an entity, a self that is having the experience. So we see that, and we don't try to find like a resolution, like the perfect equation that we can say like, I have it. No, we just notice the flow. And we're laid back, even we sit straight, but in our mind we're laid back, we are relaxed, we chill. And we let all the things come and go, and then our discernment becomes clearer and clearer, sharper and sharper. And what was the basis for anxiety or expectation leading to fear? This has disappeared. There's no ground for it in this mind that is at rest. And you know what? We just enjoy this. We don't trip on it, but we don't reject it like, oh no, it should be painful to lead to enlightenment. No. If you feel good, feel good. If you feel bad, look at it. If you feel good, look at it. And then as you do that, more and more, mind become aware of itself, both in how it works and perceives, and the experience of its true essence. What is really the stuff mind is made of, the stuff dreams are made of. And all of that comes from first finding peace and stability. But you realize that peace and stability cannot be contrived. If anybody tells you sit, you only want to go. Okay? Meditate, you only want to go. But you're relaxed. My teacher again in Rinpoche used to say, think you're just having a good, really restful nap under a tree in a hot summer day. And then when you wake up, you're surrounded by 100 police officers. Nothing has changed really, but you just want to go. Okay? So if you meditate and you're just relax, and suddenly you're like, oh, be like this, do this, sit like that, then you just want to go. You don't want to stay. So relax, and that's really a good place for that in this beautiful environment. It's really open and spacious, and we just enjoy it, and we explore with great delight. So let's explore a little bit more with some great delight, or some sort of delight, or whatever. To conclude our session, let's share and distribute the benefit and qualities of our meditation so that it becomes a universal seed of awakening. Through this merit, may I attain true omniscience. Then, having overcome all harmful, destructive forces, may I liberate sentient beings from the ocean of existence and its turbulent waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death. May the most precious mind of awakening that has not yet dawned now arise. Once arisen, may it never decline. May it continue to increase evermore. Thank you all very much. Thank you all very much. Sorry for the little hazardous beginning where the live public streaming was private. I will edit the video so that when you go back to the YouTube channel, then everything will be as it should be. And so please, if you're here for the first time, subscribe. That helps me to with the technicality, because I'm supposed to have 1,000 subscribers before I can use my phone. So that we, to publish 2 posts. So that would be really helpful. I'm about 500, so I need 5 more. Tell your friends. 500, not 5. And well, hopefully next Sunday, same time, same channel, 10:30, and I'll try to have it public, not private. So now, if you want to say goodbye to everybody, voila, all your friends. And well, I see some messages, so I just want to say hi. Especially Annette was with us, so hi. And so Barbara and je vois des coucous, donc pour nos amis francophones, j'essaierai de faire quelque chose aussi en français un de ces jours, dès que j'ai le temps. Voilà. En tout cas, bonne suite de la journée et à bientôt. Au revoir.